Hello and welcome to today's program, Getting Started with QuickBooks Online. This webinar is being presented by Angela Norkiewicz, a SCORE volunteer and subject matter expert. Angela has 30 years of experience in private industry and public sector accounting, financial systems implementation, and business consulting. She's a member of the Institute of Management Accounting, a certified project management professional, and a QuickBooks Pro advisor. Thank you, Angela, for sharing your experience on this important topic, and I trust all of our viewers will find it informative and helpful. My name is Maria Smith, and I'm a volunteer with SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. SCORE is a nonprofit organization that has been in existence for over 50 years and is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. SCORE's mission is to foster a strong small business community by providing free mentorship and business education. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Here in Chester and Delaware counties, we have 100 volunteers ready to help. Our mentoring and most of our educational programs are free. You will find many tools, templates, and other business resources on our website resource library. Today's program is 1.5 hours, scheduled to 11:30. The presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you after today's session, along with a copy of Angela's slide deck and a one-page handout about QuickBooks. You all have been placed on mute, so we avoid distractions. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take breaks to answer them. But before we get started today, just to get a glimpse of who has joined us, we're going to put up a couple of polls. They just take a moment to find out a little bit about your business. Hopefully, let me know if you can see this, Angela.
It popped up, Maria, but then it looks like it disappeared.
Uh-oh.
There it is.
Okay, so if you would all take a moment, this is just one question, and I believe you get a multiple choice answer on this. Choose as many as apply. We'll wait until most people have had a chance to fill this out, and then we'll share the results. Almost there. Thank you for participating. Very good. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Let me know if you can see them, Angela. This kind of information helps us to target some of today's discussion, right?
Yeah, it looks like 57% are still kind of in startup mode. So that's good. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, we'll stop sharing this one, and then we'll go back and we'll launch the other one. This one is more about your current accounting practice. Let me know if you can see it. Is it on the screen?
It is.
Okay, so when you get a chance, you can fill this out. I think here you get to pick one of the options that is most appropriate for you at this time. We're waiting for some more people to fill it out.
Can you actually see how many respondents are coming through?
Yeah, so we have 23 of 28 right now that have filled it out.
Great.
So we're gonna, and one or two more have just added. Okay, here we go. Let's see if you can see these results.
Okay, I do it myself. Yes, I love those people. I use QuickBooks Online, but could use some tips. Okay, so 25%, so maybe you guys can offer me some advice too. And 13% use QuickBooks Desktop, and some are using a bookkeeper. Okay, great.
All right, we'll stop sharing there, and we'll get this off the screen. Okay, we're all clear to go. All right, Angela, I'm going to go ahead to the agenda slide and let you share a little bit about this.
Okay, great. Well, first off, I want to start by letting you know I am a QuickBooks Pro advisor, although most of my past experience has been with other software products and with QuickBooks Desktop. And so I too have converted to QuickBooks Online because it is truly the wave of the future. You know, all the cloud-based applications that are being introduced on the market today. So what I'm going to share with you today is really the tip of the iceberg because QuickBooks continues to add functionality. As early as like 2 weeks ago, they sent out a note that they were adding revenue recognition, which is an important accounting principle that was added about 5 years ago. So they are trying to stay current with accounting rules and principles. A few things I want to apologize for. The slide deck I sent out is because I'm going to be using a live demo. And when I have watched live demos in the past, I remember vaguely something about a screen, but I don't have a picture of it. So use the PowerPoint more as a frame of reference for yourself when you want to go back and look at some of the things we've discussed today. And then there are reference websites for QuickBooks listed on the other handout. And I guess I'd make the comment too, that if you really want to become very well trained in QuickBooks Online, Intuit has many, many training programs. And as a matter of fact, they're offering a product training and certification boot camp next week, starting February 28th. I think it's 3 or 4 days. So you can look that up on their website or email me if you have any questions about it. So what we are going to do is use the QuickBooks sample company that they've set up. And I wanted to reference all of this ahead of time before I delved into the agenda. So talking about the agenda, the first thing I think people want to know is what are the product options? And I have a list of the products that was just clipped out of Intuit. But if you want to buy QuickBooks, there is a lot more information you're going to need before you decide which version to use. Briefly, I'm going to touch on why QuickBooks, because some of you, 25% of you are doing your books yourself, and I'm not sure if you're using a product, but the one thing I like about QuickBooks, it is a product that summarizes all the transactions that you put in and gives you really good information about your business. And then the navigation is a little complicated, and I read online, a lot of people feel it's not intuitive. And I will tell you that when I started to learn QuickBooks Online, I'm like, wow, do I go to the menu? Do I go to the dashboard? Do I go to the gear icon? And which gear icon do I go to? So we'll walk through some of those. We'll talk about banking and how QuickBooks interfaces to your bank and brings in all your bank information. QuickBooks uses the terms money in and money out, but just to say it simply, it's your sales and your revenue, and it's your expenses and your payouts, your checks. And then we'll quickly look at reconciling, how you would reconcile your bank account or your credit card account, and the really robust features in QuickBooks Online about reporting. Okay, Maria, can we go to the next slide? Okay, on the product options, QuickBooks does have some 4 versions, really a 5th version that's not shown here called the sole proprietor, but the sole proprietor is very limited in functionality. And they start with Simple Start, which is a very basic version, and then progressively add more functionality, of course, for more money. You'll notice that each of these has user limitations and limitations to sales channels. And I've highlighted this in the red box, and I apologize that the slide is so small, but this is clipped right off of their website, so you could actually go in and look at the details. Sales channels was a new term for me. It's for those of you who might deal with eBay or Amazon or Square. There are now interfaces to QuickBooks, and this tells you, you know, each version deals with 1, 3 more versions of the channels. If you want to purchase QuickBooks online, I really suggest you do intensive research, because you don't want to buy functionality you don't need. And you could buy the starter version, and QuickBooks does make it easy for you to upgrade if you find you don't have enough functionality. Like, say, for example, you wanted accounts payable. I don't believe that's available in Simple Start, so you wouldn't be able to track your vendors and how much you owe them, but you could upgrade to Essentials. Okay, all right, now we're going to go over to the live demo that I'm going to use and share my screen. And I have to make one more qualification about this version. This is a version that anybody that is in QuickBooks can come in here and play. And if you buy a version or sign up for a trial version of QuickBooks, you would be able to come in here, add transactions, and see exactly what they're going to look like in your financial statements. Now, if no one minds at this point, I would like to take myself off of video because I want to concentrate more on the live demo. But when you ask questions, I will be back. I just don't like my face staring at me while I'm trying to do this. So this is the business overview slide for Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. And this is the demo that QuickBooks offers us. It's a sample company, and it provides us a dashboard of transactions we can use, or an overview, a business overview of what's really going on in our business. And when you look at this business overview screen, I think many of us that are in business want a view of our business as a snapshot. What is my profit and loss for this particular period? Let me put on my highlighter. What's my profit and loss for this period? I have expenses that are showing up of $2,186. Oh, I can go over here to expenses, and I can drill into any one of these categories to find out more about what those expenses are, if something looks peculiar. And then I can scroll down and I can see the invoices that I have issued, but oh my gosh, $1,526 is money owed to me. Who are those customers that are still owing me money? And oh my goodness, my sales really dropped off. I better do something about that. Anyway, this dashboard, I think, is one of the real benefits to business owners. It can help you access information quickly and see exactly what's going on in your business. The other thing I will mention as we go through, and I'm going to show you some business transactions today, I'm going to show you that when I make a deposit, that deposit will show up on this business overview screen. And you can see the connectivity and the strength of any of these software products is the integration of everything that's going on in your business and the ability to drill down and see the detail. So because I said navigation was going to be one of the bigger challenges, let's take a look first at this gear icon. I mentioned that in my intro. The gear icon, I'm not going to open it up yet, but this is where we would set up all of our functional and structural requirements for QuickBooks. We would tell it when our fiscal year is. We would tell it our corporate name. We would set up all of our user permissions, and we'll go through that a little bit more detail in a minute. So that's one navigation route. Another navigation route is this black bar over here called the menu bar. And under the menu bar, you will see, as I scroll down, under banking, there's application transactions, there's business rules, banking rules I can set up. I can go to sales and look at an overview, all my sales, my invoices, and my customers. Okay, so under each of these, I'm not going to go through them all, but we will talk about customers and leads. We'll talk about expenses. We'll talk about reports and banking. So we'll go through some of these in more detail. Now, let's go over to the gear icon, and I am going to open the gear icon so you can see what's under here. The gear icon gives you the ability to set up your company. Account and settings is where you would specify your company name, your employer identification number, your address, your fiscal year. This is where we'll set up permissions for users. You can set up custom form styles, and you can augment your chart of accounts or import them from an existing product. Then QuickBooks does a pretty good job of keeping track of everything you keep a list about. Like if you have banking rules, the list would be under here. Here are your products and services that you would want to put into if you wanted to issue invoices. Recurring transactions, say for example, you always pay a health insurance bill. Well, you set that up as a recurring transaction in QuickBooks, so you never really have to go in and enter more detail other than the payment date. It will automatically pay it, and if you have to change the amount. There are tools. You can order checks because QuickBooks can print checks for you. You can import data, and I've tried to import data into QuickBooks Online. If you do it right, everything comes out great. If you don't set up your Excel import sheet correctly, as you would expect, it doesn't. But another great thing is you can export data. So any report that you do in QuickBooks can be exported to Excel so that you can play with it. And then if you do want to access reconciling your bank account, you can go through it at this route, or you can do budgeting. And then, so this is primarily what is under the gear icon. I do want to make one other point. QuickBooks navigation is like Google Maps or like Waze. When you set a destination, you might see 3 or 4 different routes to get there. What you're going to see here is you do have many routes to get to entering an invoice, paying a bill, reconciling your checking account. In the slides that I've provided, I have tried to put at least one of those, I'll call them pig paths, to get to what you want to do. So as you go through the slides, if you look in the title section, you'll see where it might say, well, let's use this for example, gear icon, my company, account and settings. Okay, and so that would be the route to get to some of the things that you want to. Okay, so here we are. QuickBooks is being a little bit kludgy right now this morning. Let me take off my spotlighter. There we go. Live and learn, right? So I come over here to accounts and settings. Let's try something else because that doesn't seem to be. Okay. You'll have to bear with me on this because this is a live system. Other people can be in here. I don't know why it's not letting me into account settings. So, okay, we'll come back to accounts and settings. There are items in there. Let's talk about manage users. So we'll skip there since that's what QuickBooks wants us to do. If you have more than one user in QuickBooks, someone who enters your transactions for you, someone who can go in here and configure QuickBooks to do different things, I really suggest you give them their own user ID and password. And it's relatively easy. So you would come in and you would say, I want to add a standard user. But you have the option to say this user can only create reports and this person can only do time tracking. But if I'm entering a standard user, then I would come here and I'd be able to say, I want them to have access to everything. They can enter customers, they can enter sales, they can enter vendors and purchases, or I can restrict them. Say, for example, I have an accounts receivable clerk that I only want to see anything related to accounts receivable. That's all they would be able to see. They would not be able to go into your bills or your vendors or print checks. So say I want to set up a customer, I would come over here and say next. And then, do you want this user? You can control more of the functionality through answering these questions. And then you would give them a name and an email address. And then from here, you would set them up as a user with a password. And so if you have more than one user, I suggest you do this because QuickBooks has an audit trail. And if anything looks suspicious, you would know exactly who went in and made that transaction. So let me.
Maria, I just wanted to mention that there are a few questions from Michael that actually are on this very topic. Do you want to take those now, or do you want to wait a moment, Angela?
No, go ahead, because that'll give QuickBooks a few minutes to get out of doing what they're doing in accounts.
Get organized. Okay, good. So the first one is, and I think you just answered this, but just maybe to double clarify, can there be multiple people with access? Are there different levels of access, like view only, etc.?
Yes, there can be.
Mm-hmm. And I think I heard you say it's really good to identify each of the people that are given permission to access and what they can see, so that you, the owner of the account, can see all of that, correct?
Yes, and I would also, one thing that I think is very revealing is to go into the audit trail. If you're an owner of your business, go into the audit trail, I would say every couple of weeks, and check to see what people are doing. There's sad stories about people who have had money embezzled from them because they weren't really watching who was doing what in their financial system.
Interesting. A related question is, can there be multiple companies?
There can be multiple companies, although I can't demonstrate that with the sample company. But you can set up in QuickBooks Online a parent company with subsidiary children.
Okay.
If that's what they're asking, or are they asking multiple independent companies? Because you can do that too.
Okay, well, I'll ask Michael to qualify his question. I read it to mean separate companies, like company A, company B, company C, but we'll let him come back if it's different than that. The other question is, how do you move from desktop to online with QuickBooks?
Okay, there are a couple of tools that are available. Let me see if the gear icon is, it doesn't show on this one, but under tools on a real QuickBooks, there is a conversion from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. And then QuickBooks offers a product that it's their migration tool that they offer. And I don't know if they charge for that, but there is a migration tool.
Okay.
Okay. If you go into QuickBooks and look for migration tool, it should pop up. But under tools on your version, see, I can't go over to my version because there's customers in there. But there's definitely here, import desktop data. Okay. So this would be one way to import desktop data. Okay, so bring data in seamlessly. That's what I was looking for, but it wasn't. And then down here, alternatively, you can use the online migration tool.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
And from Chad, kind of another desktop question here. He said, in May of 2023, QuickBooks Desktop 2020 program will no longer be supported. At this time, I don't use QuickBooks for payroll. Is there a need for me to upgrade to the 2023 desktop or go online? That's one of his questions. He has two businesses. So he said he's not using the online version. What does this discontinuation mean for me? Will I have any security update problems? Appreciate your help.
Yes, you will. And one of the reasons desktop. I mean, QuickBooks is moving. Clearly, they are putting most of their investment into QuickBooks Online, and they are getting away from supporting the older versions of desktop. And when they stop supporting the product, you won't get upgrades to the product, and you won't really have product support. So I think you have to decide, can you be a standalone person and use QuickBooks 2020 and not worry about an upgrade? But I mean, say your business changes dramatically and you need a capability, you could always change at that point in time. But I think you have to make the decision, do I really want to move off of the platform I'm currently on? But the downside is, if you don't, you may have functionality that you may need functionality that's not going to be offered.
Okay. Then couple more things here. Michael came back and did clarify that he was talking about multiple independent companies. So company A, company B, company C. So would you recommend that each of those is set up as a separate account, or can they all be set up under the owner's name in such a way for QuickBooks Online?
You know, I'm pretty sure, let me find something here. I'm pretty sure, you know what, this is a question I would want to actually research, but I am pretty sure under most of these products, you can have multiple companies. I know in QuickBooks Desktop, you can set up a new company. And I can't go look at, but I think you can have multiple companies. But please email me that question, and
Okay.
I will answer it for you this afternoon, just because I want to make sure I give you the right answer.
Right. And I will put Angela's email into the chat box in just a moment for anyone that has a very specific question like that she can manage offline. Then we have another question from Catherine, and she wants to know, can you set it up so that customers can pay with credit cards directly?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And
Good.
I will show you in one of the, if we can get through the sample version at all. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Yes, you can set up where you give a company your credit card and they just will charge your credit card, or you can actually accept credit card payments from your vendors as well.
Excellent.
Okay.
And then one last one, and then we'll pause for the questions to move on with the rest of the program for now. What are the support fees? You mentioned something about getting some extra support.
I don't know what Intuit charges. I do know that they have offered live bookkeeping services now at a given rate. If you buy a version, or say you're on one of these versions on a monthly basis, I believe you have access to support at no additional charge. I mean, you could call them about navigation problems, you could call them about issues without an additional charge. I think if they have to do something special on your behalf, that's when they charge. But that's why you're buying a subscription. The subscription gives you access to support services. And like, I don't know where the level passes off to where they're going to charge you. It's almost like when you get a new laptop, you pay, you know, $100 and $200 for support services, and they'll do certain things for you under that amount of money, but then start charging you if you have to add new software or whatever.
But I'm going to guess that their website probably provides some of that information, or you have a chat box or something to ask that question within the QuickBooks program.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, because I can't demonstrate anything live right now, I feel like kind of hamstring tied.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Okay. But ask the question, and then I will definitely send you back information with screen prints showing you what is the solution.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, I'm sure people are loaded with lots of questions. Let's see if accounts and settings. Oh, I cannot believe this. This was working so well the last week. I'm going to just briefly talk about accounts and settings, even though I can't get into it. Accounts and settings, if you were to open this, you would have 6 other drill down tierings underneath of this. The first one would be about your company, and it would ask your company name, your company address, your company EIN number. What type of company are you? Are you retail, manufacturing, service? These will be the same types of questions that would get asked to you when you first purchase your version of QuickBooks. It will provide a wizard that says, tell me something about your company, and you will enter information about your company. And when you enter that information about your company, it will get stored here under account and settings. The one thing that I can't show you is the fact that, and I'll keep going back and trying, there is an edit capability on the far right of the screen. There's a pencil, and that pencil, you know, if I change my name from, you know, Bob Jones to Bob Jones Inc., I just go in here and I make the change. Okay, under accounts and settings, they also have another tab that's called usage. And under usage, it tells you the limitations of the product that you purchased. It tells you how many users you can put on. It tells you how many chart of accounts you can have. And it also tells you how many you're currently using. It also will tell you how many tags you have available to you. And a tag is nothing more than an additional level of information about a revenue or an expense that you want to capture. Say you're a caterer and you purchase food and you want to know that that's specifically for a given wedding venue. You would just set up the wedding venue as a tag. They also have classes which allow you to enter, you know, information about demographics. Where am I selling my product? Who am I buying from? A non-for-profit that I work with says, is it grant restricted or unrestricted? So you can use classes as well to further delineate what the expense or revenue is coming from. Under account and settings, there's another tab called sales. And in that tab, you'd be able to set up customizations about your selling practices. So for example, do you want to set up invoicing terms such as pay net 30 for all of your customers? Do you want your invoice delivered by US mail, text, or email? Do you want to add custom fields to your invoices? Are you a company that wants to accept a deposit before you do the work? This is all under account and settings. Then the next tab is called expenses, and it's similar to the prior tab, sales. This is where you would say, what are my procurement practices? Do I want to issue purchase orders? If I'm in construction, do I want to track materials to a specific job or customer so that I can bill that extra material to a customer? Do I want to charge a markup fee on that? So these are all settings that you can put into QuickBooks. You don't have to do any of them though. And I will tell you, QuickBooks will tell you the ones you need to use. This is as your business progresses and how you want to automate certain things, like sending my customers all with a net 30 payment terms. It just simplifies your life in the future because you won't have to choose that every time you enter an invoice. Then there's a tab under accounts and settings. I don't know why this does not want to work today. Let me try something else. It's going back to that same screen. I do apologize.
I have a quick question for you. Do you think, Angela, we could use your PowerPoint version that you had sent out earlier as part of the pre-reading? Would that be useful to see the different screens?
You know, the problem with the PowerPoint, it's so small, Maria, because
Okay.
I can't The one last thing under accountant settings, and then I'll try to move on off of that, that's under accountant settings is called advanced. And that's where you would set up your fiscal year, the dates that you're using. What's your accounting method? Are you cash or accrual? And the difference between cash or accrual is critical to the way QuickBooks is going to keep track of your income and your expenses. If you're a cash-based taxpayer and you receive income for a service you perform on December 31st, but you don't receive that income till January 2nd, that sale goes into the subsequent year. However, if you're an accrual-based company, if you do that service on December 30th, you have to account for it in the year December 30th falls in. So I think there are some accounting assumptions that QuickBooks assumes people know, but I would suggest if you have any questions before you do setup, you definitely work with your accountant to make sure you are setting this up properly. So that's all that's under accounts and settings. Unfortunately, I have one other option I could do, Maria, and that is I could try to close out and reboot, but let's try one other thing. Let's go back over to the menu and let's take a look at banking and see if I can get through. Yes. Okay. So, all right, well, here's some success. My bank connection is all set up. One of the benefits of QuickBooks is that you can update your banking information instantly. So in this example, you can see if this were my business, I see my balance per my bank for my checking account says it's $1,201. The bank is telling me I'm overdrawn. The bank is telling me that they've cleared payments for $3,621.93. So this tells me I haven't entered everything in QuickBooks that I could have handwritten checks and sent them out, and they have now started to clear the bank. So this is the one benefit of QuickBooks is you always, if you are linked, you will always know what the balance is in your checking account, saving account, and even your credit card. Now it's very simple to link an account. Hopefully. Okay, so for example, most of the major banks link automatically to QuickBooks, and you can pull in all of the transactions as they're clearing the bank, which simplifies the bank reconciliation process. So say my account is with TD Bank. I would go here and they bring up multiple options for TD Bank. I might just suggest the one with the big green circle. And once I click on this, it's going to ask me my username and password. And then as soon as that clears the bank, my account will be populated and I will start to see all the transactions coming in from the bank. Okay, and they'll be shown on this particular page under banking. Now on banking, there's a tab. Let me try doing the little spotlighter again. There's a tab here called For Review. And what this is, if you do a monthly bank reconciliation, then you're checking what you paid out of QuickBooks with what cleared the bank. And generally speaking, that's what this is doing, but it's only doing it on a real-time basis. And as I review a transaction, it then falls into this categorized category. So let's take a look at one of these ones that the bank sent me information about this A rental. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to see that it's $1,200. No, $200. Wait. This one was $1,200, I think. Let me get out of here for a second. I lost track. I thought it was $1,200. Okay, $1,200, and it's Books by Bessie, and no, it's a rental. And I come down here and I look at the bank details, says A1 rental backhoe deposit refund. So this credit is coming back to me. It came back to my bank account, but I don't really know any information in QuickBooks about it. So I would come up here. That highlighter doesn't work so good. Take you off. Come back to the transaction, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to check to see if Craig has a vendor called A1. He does not, but QuickBooks gives me the ability to quickly add A1. Oh, is it a customer? No, it's a vendor. It's somebody I bought something from, and I can save that. And now A1 is going to be in my vendor list. And here's another issue. The $1,200 came in as uncategorized income, but down here it tells me backhoe deposit refund. So I'm going to look for equipment rental and assume that A1 refunded the money to me on backhoe equipment that I was due. So now I'm going to add that. And now you can see if I add it, it's got the data, it's got the equipment. Wait, I'm coming back up here. It's been moved to categorized, and it's been categorized to the expense for equipment rental, and it's my credit. Now, here's the other thing that's interesting. If I go back to my, oh, we didn't look at credit card balances. If I were to go back to my balances, I should see an update of my balances for that transaction that I just made. So back to banking again. I can look at all of my transactions and pretty much clear them before my checking account statement comes through. Now here you see I had entered this deposit, $868.15, as a deposit that came through, and the bank found it. So I'm going to automatically match it. And now that matched record has now moved up here to categorized. So I can keep track of everything that I have not reviewed and it needs reviewed, and I want to categorize it correctly. So banking gives you the ability to do that on a real-time basis. Now, the other thing that under banking are these bank rules. And bank rules are great if you are doing a continual transaction. Say, to set up a new rule, I want to call it A1 because I want everything that gets spent in or out for the transaction that contains the words A1 to be put to a category called equipment rental, and the payee should be A1. And the reason I'm showing you this is QuickBooks will keep track of all of the rules that you set up. And I know in my QuickBooks, my personal QuickBooks account, I have rules set up for, if you see the word Verizon, just send it to, phone, cable, utilities, whatever. If you see PP&L, send it to Pennsylvania Utilities. I have accounts set up that way. So the benefit of this is a lot of times you never have to go back in and categorize expenses that are coming through the bank that you may not have categorized the first time around. Okay, that feature is certainly broken today, but okay, so let me find my spot. Are there any questions so far on banking?
None on banking.
Yeah.
Just a comment in the Q&A box, I think this is just a comment that the older desktop version no longer allows us to email invoices to our customers. That was, I think, from the last discussion.
Yeah, and you can invoice your customers via email, and we'll actually take a look at one of those. So I had said that most of the structural setup happens under the gear icon. The only place I will tell you is customers and vendors will need to be set up using the menu bar, or added on the fly, like I just added A1 as an expense. So what I would do here, if I were, you see Craig has a lot of customers he's already set up, and I want to add a new customer, and I'm going to say my new customer is Bob Jones, and the company name is Bob Jones, Inc. Now, here, I could save this right now, and Bob Jones will show up in my customer list. I can add email if I want to email him invoices. I need a phone number to contact him. I might need a billing address if I'm going to send him an invoice. But at this point, QuickBooks says we don't really need any of that. So I'm just going to save and close. And when I go look at my customer list again, you'll see Bob Jones has been added here. And at this point, I can create an invoice to Bob Jones, and I could create an estimate. I can do a sales receipt and create an invoice here. Oops, where'd he go? Well, we'll create an invoice via a different route. Okay, so that's then adding a vendor. Vendors in QuickBooks are all linked to expenses. Now, you could have 1099 vendors. You can have regular vendors that you do business with. You could have vendors that you have, they're always continually upgrading, automatic supply of your products. So you can add all types of vendors here. And if I were to add a vendor, again, very similar, and this part of navigation is relatively easy. I would go to new vendor, and I would put in a vendor called All Tech, because I know I don't have one of those. And same thing, email, address, all of this information, notes and attachments. This might be a vendor that I say I put on automatic supply. You can put all sorts of notes in here, and you can add attachments. Maybe if you have a contract, you could add the attachment here so that it's always shown in QuickBooks that there's a contract with this vendor. Then I save and close. And when I go back to my vendor list, here is All Tech. He is showing up, and A1 is showing up as well, both of those that I just added. So at this point, because we couldn't see account and settings, your company is pretty well set up to start entering transactions. And at this point, are there any questions on setup?
There is a question here about transactions. So it's from Tom or Thomas. Is there a way to see the actual double entry transaction when a categorization or match is done? For example, income to accounts receivable, then accounts receivable to income account.
Let's get, well, there are, let me see if we want to go to, now let's go to expenses for a minute. Books by Bessie. Let's take a look at what you can see under Books by Bessie is that you can see by vendor the detail, but you're really asking if I can see the journal entry, right?
Well, we can't get Thomas to talk with us,
Oh,
but
okay,
I just wanted to
sorry.
know if there's a way to see the actual double entry transaction when a categorization or a match is done.
There should, let me see something here. When the bill gets entered, let me open this up. When the bill gets entered, there is the debit to expense and the credit to accounts payable. Now I know I've seen it. Open up.
Do you need to click on the little box there to the left to open it, or?
No, that usually, let's see, view edit, maybe here. No, I don't want to wait. I want to view it. No, I can't do it right here. You should be, I know in the desktop, you can definitely see it. And if I went to banking, oh, you know where I might see it. Let's go to reports real quick.
Yeah, he was looking for journal entries.
Yeah, yep. I know, but the way QuickBooks operates, like deposit detail, if I deposit money in the bank, let's try one other. Let's see if there's a report for journal. It operates, counts. It's not, it's showing me under the account, but it is not. I'll have to look for that one under QuickBooks Online. I know I can find it on desktop by going to the journal entries, but I'm not sure here.
Okay.
Okay, so not to take up too much time, but I'm curious myself, but okay, we'll look and see. You should be able to see the journal entry. Like, for example, if you click on a banking transaction, it should show you it was a credit to cash and a debit to expense, but I don't want to play around too much more. Okay, so we've entered everything and we've gone through banking, and now we're going to take a look at, I was saying in this menu bar, there's access to setting up an invoice, but QuickBooks also provided this new button a couple of years ago to give quick access to items related to customers, vendors, employees, and others. So we're going to look at a couple of these transactions. Say I'm going to make a bank deposit. You know what? I am going to log out of here because I think that I probably have to go back to.
In the meantime, while Angela's rebooting the online program, I did Google support costs, and it looks like there are some published support costs for the desktop program. For the online program, it appears that there aren't any costs if you just call customer service. However, it seems that if there were special support costs, they would be quoted based on what your needs are.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
And you can see my screen again,
And
right?
yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so it just to show you, I should have logged out sooner. I am sorry. These were the things that we talked through in accounts and settings and the options that you will have. Okay, so this version seems to be working better. So let's go back now and let's see if we can do a bank deposit. Yeah, lessons learned, right? Okay, let's create an invoice if it will let me. Oh, no. Okay, plan B. Let's see if I can get to. All right. As I said, there's different ways you can get it to an invoice via the new button, but let me jump to creating an invoice to show you, how relatively easy it is. And then we'll go back and collect payment from our client. So say I want to issue an invoice. This is Craig's Design Services again, remember, and he is doing business with Bill's Windsurf Shop. And he has terms of net 30 days. And today's the invoice date, and he wants the due date to be March 24th. So we're going to come down and we're going to do design services. And you can see here that Craig has already added the rate right here for design services, $75. I don't know what the one is, maybe it's an hour, but we're going to make it 2. And we're going to come down. I don't want to apply a discount. I can come down here and I can print, or you can see the actual invoice that comes up. And if I had it set up, I should be able to save and send this to Bill via his, but it says email not sent because I can't send emails from the sample company. So now we know there's an invoice sitting out there for Bill. And what we want to do is try to go in now and receive payment. Not working still. There's so many functions under that new button. I was going to explore invoice, receive payment, estimate credit memo, sales receipts. Let's see if I can do a bank deposit yet. Oh, good. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do a bank deposit and why QuickBooks has strength to it. I'm going to deposit the money in my checking account, and I'm going to deposit it on today's date. These items that are sitting here in received from, consider you doing business and you open your mail and you have collected a check from Cool Cars for $1,675 and for Freeman Sporting Goods of $387. But I only want to take checks to the bank at the end of the week. So what QuickBooks does is they say you can go ahead and enter these as received, but we won't really deposit them in the bank yet. We'll just hold them until you're ready to. So they're going to sit here for a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to deposit our daily cash because we really don't want cash sitting in our office. Now, QuickBooks is considering daily cash a customer, and we're going to just save it and accept it. And because this is from my cash register, I'm going to just put other income. I do not want to detail anything about what has come through for minor sales. It's just not worth it. And I'm going to say the amount of my deposit is $5,000. Now, if I come up here, what deposit amount changed from 0 to $5,000. And if I were to deposit these extra checks, that would be the total amount of the deposit that's going to the bank. The issue is we always want the amount here that's going into QuickBooks to equal what's going to be on our bank deposit slip, because otherwise it will be unbearable to try to reconcile. So right now we're only going to deposit the cash. So we're going to say save and, like I said, save and new, but we could do save and close. So I've deposited the $5,000. And now what I want you to see, this is part of the power of QuickBooks. When I come down here, I know I made the point of saying my bank balance in QuickBooks was $1,200. You see, I instantly now have in my QuickBooks account $5,201 showing because I deposited that $5,000. And if I go to look now, it should show that the 5,000 was deposited and my new balance is 5,200. So hopefully I won't get overcharged draft notice. The other thing I wanted to show, totally off script now, let's see. Okay, it's going to let me enter an invoice. Oh, I did that, didn't I? It was, now I want to show you, oh, sales receipt. That's what I wanted to go do. So new, receive payment. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to say Bill's Windsurf Shop paid me money. And I want to find the invoice number, but I don't really know, but it looks like Bill has two invoices that are down here. And he paid me. So he's paid me now by check. And I'm going to say he paid the $150 because that is the invoice we just entered. That's what I'm receiving today. And I'm now going to deposit this into my checking account. And save and close. And when I come back to my customers and I go to Bill's Windsurf Shop, you can see we entered the invoice here for $150. And now we've applied the payment of $150. With QuickBooks, if you invoice your customer, you do not ever want to just make a bank deposit. You always want the deposit to be received payment. They have created what's called this undeposited funds account. So now I want to go in and I want to receive, I want to take these to the bank. I'm going to take these other two checks to the bank and save and new. Now the bank deposit, it should go up by $2,062. Back to bank. Okay, now my account has gone from 5,200 to 7,400. So this real-time capability of QuickBooks is why I believe even small businesses should consider using it. I want to go back to my original script now and see what I missed sharing with you. We did banking. Now, remember, if you issue an invoice, that invoice is debiting accounts receivable and crediting sales as your journal entry. So the reason you want to receive payment is then the transaction that would happen would be a debit to cash and a credit to accounts receivable. If you do it and make a bank deposit, you're going to double count your income. So that's why we use the accounts receivable and receive payment. It's the way QuickBooks was built. I think we've looked at invoicing, receiving payment. We haven't looked at sending a check. QuickBooks is very distinct in the way they differentiate. An invoice is something that I send my customer. A bill is something that I charge my vendors. A bill is something I receive from my vendors. An invoice is something I send to my customers. So say I want to send a check to someone. I can come in here and I can say, I want to pay Books by Bessie. Let's use her. And I have her in my system, so I know and my check number is going to be 71. And I'm going to say print later. Now, here's a couple of things about the bill pay in QuickBooks. It interfaces to a product called Melio or to a product called Bill.com and several other ones. Or QuickBooks will print your checks as well, but you have to have compatible check stock, and that's why they give you the ability to order checks directly from them. But we're going to say print later because I want to show you one of those capabilities. And we'll come down here and we know the category is Books by Bessie is the bookkeeper. And we're going to pay her $55 because that's her routine payment. So I'm going to say save and close. And so now I have created a bill. And if I go to expense, Books by Bessie, you will see that check that I've written to Books by Bessie is sitting out here, but I haven't printed it yet. So I can go here and I can now say, print the check. Yes, I'm finished with setup. And I just want to print. And there's the check. And I can say review and print and make sure my printer is set up with the proper check stock, that the check will actually print. And if we go back to new, when I get a bill, as I said, a bill is different. No, that one's not working today. You would use, say you get a bill from the telephone company and you know it's not due for 30 days. You would come here, you would enter that bill. Oh, it's working today. I would enter that bill here and say, I know I'm going to owe money to Cal Telephone. And I would create it with today's date. It's not due on receipt. I'm looking at the bill. It tells me they're going to give me 15 days. And I'm going to enter the bill number just in case I have a problem and CalTel tells me they never received my payment. Here's where a business rule is really important. I don't have to come down here and enter the expense category. I can just assign it via a business rule. Now you'll see here, it says new, pay any vendor with for free with your card to defer payments and earn rewards. Okay, you can pay with a credit card. This one, we're just gonna go ahead and create the bill right now. And I'm not gonna save and schedule payment, but I could. I'm just gonna save it. Now, when it's time to go pay the bill, I hope it's saved. Save and close. Okay, now when I'm going to go pay the bill, I'm going to come over here and I should have like maybe 5 or 10 bills ready to pay at the point I come out here. And you can see there are 4 bills out here that are overdue already. So I might click on all of them and say pay them now. And then I'm left with 2 bills that are left to be paid. And then depending on the way you have your bills set up, let's go see if the print checks is new. Print checks. No, Bessie's still out here. So those bills would get paid. I don't think they've registered yet with QuickBooks. You also can pay bills via ACH using different vendors or through your credit card. And I know someone had asked that question before. So let's say a credit card is going to be treated just like an expense. Say I go and I buy my gas via credit card with Chin's Gas, and it's my credit card. Today's the date I bought the gas. My payment method is credit card. I don't have a reference number, but I'm automatically assigning it to the fuel account. And it's, let's say this time, it's going to be $85. So I will save and close. And now if I go to my credit card account, I should be able to see Chin's, but like I said, I'm not sure that this is working so well today. Review.
It's Maria Angela. The question I think earlier was, can you set it up so that customers can pay by credit card?
So that customers pay by credit card?
Correct.
Okay, let's go take a look. New receipt payment credit memo. You can, when you issue the invoice, I don't think you specify customer email, billing address. Your customers can pay you, but you have to give them your credit card number. And when the money comes in, it's going to come in on your credit card. So for example, that's where the issue is. If your customer pays you by credit card, you're giving him your credit card number, correct? And
I think the question is, can they use their credit card to pay a bill to Craig's?
Can they use their credit card?
Instead of write a check?
Yeah, but I'm not actually sure. Receive payment. If I receive payment and say I receive payment here, my payment method is,
Yeah,
say
well, there are cards that are accepted there.
There are cards acceptable. So I might say American Express, and I'm going to say that's a payment method, receive payment. It's a good question. I will look into that. I'm sure they can receive. I know I've worked with companies who receive payments from their credit card company, although now
this is about the customers, the customer using their credit card to pay this business, your business.
But what's going to happen is it's going to come in as a received payment. Don't know for sure. Receive payment. I should be able to receive payment through American. How would that come in? You know what? I think I just answered my question. Under setup, I'm sorry. Under setup, you specify the credit cards that you will accept payment from. So here, this one says American Express, Diners Club, Discover, MasterCard, Visa. This is set up in your profile as to who you will accept payment from. So then when the payment comes in, you would select that payment method. And when the payment comes in from the credit card, you would then deposit it into your checking or your savings account.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
We do have another question in the box. It might be unrelated, but because we're getting close to the end of time, I want to make sure we get it answered. It's from Chad. He said, I received a message from my bank. Where are your thoughts about banks and QuickBooks partnerships? The message was, in partnership with Intuit QuickBooks software, it's now integrated with the Treasury Center, replacing the need to export and import files manually. Once you're enrolled in the Direct Connect service, users will be able to enter their Treasury Center credentials directly into QuickBooks, in which up to 90 days of transaction history will be conveniently imported. So I think he's asking for your opinion, Angela.
Well, that is, if we go back to banking, that is exactly what's happening with the banking, is that when you link your account, your bank is wanting, to be honest with you, banks want this automation. It saves them from having to issue statements in a lot of cases. They want you to do business with them electronically. And I know I've used a product called Bill Pay, and Bill Pay links with vendors to pay them electronically to their bank. So it kind of streamlines the whole banking process. If we're receiving money from a bank, that's what these transactions, if you linked your bank to QuickBooks, then these transactions would come in directly from your bank. And if you want to make payments from your bank directly, there is the ability to make a payment directly from your bank. I don't think it's available in this sample company, but you can pay electronic funds transfer, you can pay ACH. So the benefit of linking to your bank is, first off, you have to trust that it's secure. And I know a lot of people are not totally comfortable with that, but it's streamlining business operations to the point that you can receive payments and you can actually make payments directly through that vendor direct.
So that said, you would say that that's a good thing to do for the owner of the company?
I would say it depends on a person's level of trust. And I do trust, okay, that it's all very secure. QuickBooks has provided, great security mechanisms to prevent issues. But there's a lot of people who don't trust that any of their banking information should go online. And I think it's a personal decision more than a business decision.
Thank you. We have about 10 minutes to go.
Okay.
Okay.
The only thing I have not covered, and this was gross because it was under account and settings, and we couldn't get in there. Let me go back. Is the chart of accounts. Okay. Now, your chart of accounts is critical. And I would say that the knowledge, some accounting knowledge is important to setting up a proper chart of accounts. When you do your balance sheet is made up of assets, liabilities, and equity. And your profit and loss statement is income and expense, or revenue and expense. And you'll see in here that QuickBooks gives you the type, and if you don't set the type of account properly, your balance sheet will not be accurate and your profit and loss statement will not be accurate. So it's key that you know if something is revenue, it's treated as a revenue account. You know what a liability is. I have a customer who fights all the time and says, why aren't my mortgage payments showing up as expenses? And I have to have the discussion with them that the mortgage is a liability. And when they pay their mortgage, all it's doing is reducing the liability. It's not, the interest is an expense, but it's not going to show up on their profit and loss statement. So it's critical that your chart of accounts is set up correctly. So don't come out here and just start creating accounts. Like I said, QuickBooks has a wizard that will allow you to tell them if you're a retail company or a manufacturing company. And reason being, if you're retail, you might want to maintain an inventory account. Like, what am I buying? What's sitting in my stock room that's truly an asset that needs to be on my balance sheet rather than an expense? The other thing, if you're manufacturing, you're going to have cost of goods sold. And cost of goods sold doesn't get expensed until you sell the product. So there are accounting reasons why the accounts have to be specific. I do want to, and since we have a few more minutes, I do want to go to reports because that was going to be the last thing. And as I started talking about accounts, I realized we had not gotten here. So any business, if you're going to go apply for a loan, your bank is going to want to see your bank account, your balance sheet, and they're going to want to see your profit and loss statement. Your balance sheet, your assets are what you own, your liabilities are what you owe, and your equity is the difference between the two. It's what you have available in the company that's yours, basically. Now, the other thing about a balance sheet, it's always as of a date. So you wouldn't put in a balance sheet for the year 2022. You would put it in as, what was my balance sheet? What did it look like on December 31st? And this is what you would get. This is your picture of what your company would be valued based on as of December 31st. Now, it would change. If I put in today's date, it's going to change. If I go to profit and loss, this is different. This is over a period of time. So my profit and loss, I might want to say, tell me how much revenue and expenses I have for the year 2022. And I want to show you that report functions in QuickBooks are phenomenal. Oh, it didn't like that. It doesn't like 2021. So if I run the report, this now tells me what my income was from January through December for the calendar year. And you can see all of your expenses. If you don't set up your expenses properly, these reports are not going to be right. So the only thing I would say is anything in QuickBooks you can fix, but once you set up your chart of accounts, you would have to go in, if they're set up incorrectly, you would have to go in and inactivate them and reactivate new ones and move money from one account to another. So I urge people, I have a great example. My son is a dentist, and when he bought QuickBooks for the first time, he didn't consult me. And so one day I said to him, Dennis, where is your the loan from the bank for buying the business? He said, well, I didn't bother with that. I'm like, well, you have to bother with that. So a lot of people, he knows revenue, he knows expenses, but he didn't know much about assets and liabilities and equity. So it's important that you consult your accountant before you start entering accounts. So I know we only have like 5 minutes left, and I want to apologize.
Hi. So we do have a question from Michael that I think you might have talked a little bit about in the very beginning. He said, I'm not sure if we really discussed this, how to move from desktop to online. Do we just upload a backup copy?
No, you don't. You would go to this import desktop data and follow the prompts for that, or go to this online migration tool. And I don't know much about the migration tool, but they have streamlined the way you move from desktop to QuickBooks Online. And they've spent a lot of time doing that because people were not moving from desktop to online because it was very cumbersome before. And I can't actually demonstrate that for you, but it looks like it's a relatively seamless. Now it says step-by-step guides and demos. If you're not comfortable with that, you might want to hire someone who can do it for you. But the tool is here, that QuickBooks has provided the tool. Or you can rekey it, but I don't think anybody wants to sit down and rekey data.
Yeah, that sounds torturous.
It would be.
Well, Angela, if it's okay, I was going to ask if you could pull down your online program, and we'll just do a wrap up here to honor people's time today.
Okay.
Really appreciate everybody. First of all the attention and the really great questions. I want to make sure everyone can see this screen here. Can you see the screen, Angela?
I can, yes.
Okay, great. So thank you so much. You gave us a lot to think about and excellent practical examples too. I did put your email address, your SCORE email address in the chat box. So if anyone has questions that are specific to today's training that you'd like to get some one-on-one feedback from Angela, feel free to reach out to her. As mentioned earlier, you'll receive the recorded webinar, the PowerPoint deck, and the QuickBooks handout following today's session. It does sometimes take us a couple of hours to get the recording loaded, and sometimes a couple of edits have to be done to it just to clean it up. So you'll either get that this afternoon or sometime tomorrow. And I just want to remind everyone that SCORE's here to help you with the next steps on your business plans and challenges. Please reach out to your SCORE mentor for support. You're not alone in this process of managing your business, and especially this part of your business where the financials are concerned. If you aren't already working with a SCORE mentor, you can request one by going to our website link shown here, or by calling the office and speaking with Catherine Weisenberger, our office administrator. She will help to match you with an appropriate mentor. This information will also be included with the follow-up email from SCORE today or tomorrow. And note that we do see our clients or people who need mentoring in person, online through Zoom or other video programs, email, phone, whatever's the most convenient for you. So what would be helpful to SCORE today, if just one more poll, if you have a couple of minutes to answer some questions for us about today's session, it helps us to improve our own work and the content. Can you see this poll, Angela?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. If the folks that are online with us now would be willing to just take a couple of moments to fill out these questions. Most of them are one-word answers. It really does help us to bring good content and better programming going forward. It's actually how we find out what's on people's minds so they can help us.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I think I see some thank yous in the chat box, or that's very nice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I would love personal feedback too, if others would like to. This is the first time I've done the QuickBooks online version, so I have very thick skin, but love to improve how I do these. So if you have input for me, please send it to my SCORE volunteer email address.
Awesome. Just another minute here, and we've got a couple of people still answering the poll, which is great. We always get a very good registration and attendance at QuickBooks. It's such a powerful tool, but I can see, having seen it several times, that there's a lot to it, a lot of detail, important stuff. Okay, I'm going to end the poll here. And I'm just going to say, remember, you can talk to SCORE about anything that's on your mind. It doesn't have to be about today's topic. Here's the contact information to reach us, and also Angela's contact information that was in the chat box. So have a wonderful day. It's a wrap.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Bye.